Heyo everybody, Haku here with my read-through for Magical Girl Raising Project, or Mahou Shoujo Ikusei Keikaku, Limited Chapter 8, Advent. And we're going for the second half here, starting off at page 18. So yeah, I'm going to read this, and I've been having problems with my battery when recording lately. I hope things will be fine. I haven't been recording that long. I've only been recording like 25 minutes. So hopefully we're good and I can finish out this chapter and I don't lose any footage. So yeah, let's just try to read. Last time we ended off, again, good guys are kind of getting screwed over. But it looks like Pithy's group is going on the attack now. And Funny Trick might be trying to escape. I don't know if they left her and Hana alone, or if they left them with Top Pop or with Wedden. But they've been left behind, I think. All we know now is that we've jumped forward about an hour or so, and we haven't seen them. Instead, we've seen Kuru-kuru Hime's group, and they were just almost grabbed by Pithy, and now there's a red car coming. So, yeah, I guess let's start reading from there. Also, we found out more about Kaio's backstory, and I kind of feel very sympathetic for Kaio and don't like Captain Grace very much. But you already knew that if you've been watching. But yeah, let's start reading with Pithy Frederica's point of view. Remaining time, 11 hours, 50 minutes on page 18. She had forgotten that Ripple was there. Ripple knew of Frederica's magical skill. Frederica fought her before. She was aware of what was going on in the room, and when a hand appeared out of thin air, she immediately responded. Looking down at Kuru-kuru Hime's hair from behind, she couldn't help but reach her hand out to touch her beautiful hair. Just like her name, Kuru-kuru Hime's, Kuru-kuru, her hair was all rolled up cutely. Even in the abandoned, busted-up room, it was beautiful. It stimulated Frederica's desires. Yet, the first time she saw her, she had restrained herself. She confirmed the number of people in the room, the Human Resource Division's nanako-san and Mana, just as Hana had claimed, and when she saw Ripple, her head was filled with happiness. A magical girl's outward age shouldn't change, but it seemed that she's grown more fearless. Last time, she looked so naive, but now any trace of those feelings had disappeared. She couldn't see any of her meaningless pride or disposition anymore. She was flexible, escaping from her enemies by hiding in a house. Without any of her fighting spirit, her actions were supple and soft. When she saw her a second time, she restrained herself too. She told Wedden about the tall building that she saw through the window. Okay. And after being told roughly where it was located in the neighborhood, they pedaled their automobile that way. The third time she saw her, she couldn't hold back. She saw the information signs and a Japanese candy store sign from outside the window, and found which abandoned house they were lurking in. "We'll be arriving soon," she thought as she reached out her hands. Ripple then immediately responded. Frederica pulled out to avoid being skewered. If her wrist had been skewered while she was remotely manipulating it, she wouldn't be able to get it back, and she'd be horribly crippled. She'd done that before, and not just her wrist. Her ankles had been heavily injured as well. She was literally unable to lift a finger, whether hands or toes, as she was being beaten up. She didn't want to repeat that failure ever again. She was annoyed at this, but she decided she had to be truthful. "My apologies. I attempted to attack, but it ended in failure. Oh, it seems our enemies aren't to be made light of. Over there." Wedden pointed somewhere, and they saw a mini-car busting out of her garage's shutter. She couldn't see anything through the glass of the cars, as it was filled with a gray color. It wasn't like a smoke film, but it was like something filling the car. The mini-car drifted in a sharp curve and stayed on the streets. Frederica looked at the crystal ball. Her vision was blocked with a gray color. It was like some sort of smoke screen. Perhaps Ripple had told them to guard themselves from Frederica's view. In that case, the people inside were at their wits' end, thought Frederica as she smiled. Her crystal ball couldn't be used to sense around, but they'd probably all be coughing. Ripple had to be resisting it. "Well, shall we give them a chase then?" Pukin smiled as she heard Frederica's words. "A car chase, not bad. I do want to try it at least once." She thought that she didn't have to bother chasing them with her own car. However, doing what Pukin wanted to do would be best, especially since Frederica had just made a blunder earlier, so objecting to Pukin would be a bad idea. "Can you do car chases?" "Haha, old Tot here's pretty good at that, you know." Frederica considered where problems would come from this little car chase. If Ripple used throwing weapons against their tires, then it'd be hard to avoid. "If at all possible, we need to prepare to abandon our car. The car's not as durable as us, and it can be destroyed in one direct hit." "Very well. Aye. Okay then." Gray smoke was pouring out of the gaps of the window. There was no more smoke inside, but they couldn't see what was going on through their rear view window. Would they really go that far to ensure Frederica couldn't see them? It was just as difficult here as well. Frederica tapped her forehead with her right middle finger. Was there any other way? This was quite fun for Pukin, but there were more things that she had to consider. She didn't have to worry about Top Pop's skills. Despite speeding a bit too much, she was a good driver. What about the car's performance? Compared to her opponent's minicar, the older Fury still overwhelmed it. However, they were also carrying a large amount of people. Top Pop in the driver's seat, Frederica in the passenger seat, Pukin sitting in the middle of the rear seat beside her, Wedden still drooping, and then they had Sonia holding a blindfolded and earplugged Hana. If Hana could grasp their approximate position, she could use her magical skill. After covering her eyes with magical blindfolds and her ears with magical earplugs, only now were they finally able to take her. Also, they had commanded Sonia to kill Hana immediately if she ever did anything strange. They told Hana that as well. Despite being able to use her own magical skill to disable her opponents, it wasn't good enough to take them out. Meaning, Hana couldn't get out of this situation fundamentally by taking out Sonia alone. She'd just die a wasted death. This was worth it to make her a hostage against the investigation team. They had a strong family-like bond with each other. Because of that, they cared about their allies. So we still don't know... Okay, here it is. At the foot of the rear seat, they are piled in. At the foot of the rear seat, Funny Trick had been rolled up. She'd only been tied with her hands behind her back. The difference between how they treated an amateur and a professional was clearly seen. A total of 7 people. No matter how large the car was, if everyone went in, it'd feel cramped. The breath of the magical girls, their slightly sweet scent, all mixed together inside the car. Frederica breathed in deeply, inhaling from her nose, filling her lungs with their scent, and her own happiness she slowly breathed out. Frederica is one of the most comedic characters, probably the most comedic character in the entire series. The distance between their cars was shrinking and narrowing. If they hadn't decided to be economical with their fuel, they probably would have caught up with them normally. Their opponent did not enter the alleyways, instead choosing to enter the larger roads. The larger roads, they specifically chose it. If they chose to run away, there shouldn't have been a better way, thought Frederica. But as she did, the minicar speeding in the middle of the 4-lane highway suddenly broke apart. Before she could figure out what was happening, their bodies moved. Pukin, Sonia, and Frederica kicked the doors. Okay, Pukin, Sonia, and Frederica kicked the doors or broke windows, jumping outside. Top Pop, who was trying to control the driver's wheel, moved later than the others. The Fury avoided crashing into the broken-down minicar, instead frontally colliding with a utility pole, running over a vending machine, finally stopping when it hit the pillars of a large door column. American cars were really sturdily made. Even now, the bare-bone shape of the car remained despite what it's been through. Every other magical girl aside from Top Pop had jumped out in a hurry and were all safe. Since Top Pop jumped when the car was turning, she jumped straight into the minicar. She kept her guitar between herself and the car and crashed into an invisible object that repelled her back. Only now did Frederica remember. The barrier. Oh, shit! Frederica placed her crystal ball into her skirt as she approached Top Pop, her hands on both sides as she helped her up. Looks like there were no major injuries. Are you all right? Barely, though I'm pretty safe, yeah? Although she was groggy, she was able to stand up on her own without support. Top Pop picked up the guitar that was dropped on the ground. She blew on it to blow the dust and dirt away. That was pretty dangerous, huh? Sonia threw Hana on the streets and went towards the remains of the minicar. She placed her hand on the car's chassis, her black rock corroding it away, and after the smoke cleared, no one was inside. Remote controlled. Master, looks like a decoy, no? So they were trying to draw them into the barrier to kill them. Interesting. I wonder how they did it, though. It's always possible, though, that since they were all covered, there was some way for Funny Trick to teleport them away, since she can switch the position of two covered things. But that's a bit of a jump in logic. We'll have to see. Alright, remote controlled. Master, looks like it was a decoy, no? Pukin also came all this way. Beside her was Wedden. It seems she grabbed onto her collar when they escaped before. Explain this at once. Anyone could see from Pukin's expression that her mood wasn't great. They were in this mess because Pukin wanted a car chase to begin with, but if she pointed that out, then Pukin's mood would just get even worse. So Frederica began speaking in an apologetic voice. My apologies, it seems we were outwitted. The barrier that won't allow anything magical to pass. The minicar seemed to suddenly crash into nothing on the road, actually crashed into this barrier, and the car also seemed to be a magical object. While they were chasing the minicar, the real enemies ran away. Frederica's magical skill was disrupted because both the room and the car were filled with smoke. So they did think that far, she thought as she admired them. So what now? Pukin's anger truly wasn't welcoming. This won't be a problem. So long as I have Kuru-kuru Hime's strand of hair, we can figure out their location. After all they did was buy some time. Frederica's group were all magical girls, whereas their group had a non-magical girl, Mana, in the mix. If they chased them, no matter how hard they tried, Frederica's team would win in both physical endurance and speed. When Frederica picked up her crystal ball, she noticed a slight discomfort as she placed her fingers inside her skirt to find her crystal ball on her belt. Her sense of discomfort grew stronger. What she pulled out of her skirt wasn't her crystal ball, but a rather large stone. Oh, shit. So, you have Funny Trick, her power coming into play. Frederica went closer to the smoking fury. All 4 of its doors had been broken open, obviously because they all tried to run away. Frederica peeped into the car. What's this? A rope had fallen. It was neither cut nor shredded. Aside from the knots, the rope looked to be in its original position. Funny Trick should have been tied and rolled, who should have been tied and rolled up wasn't there. The crystal ball that should have been in her right hand could have possibly been changed, thanks to Funny Trick's magical skill. What's wrong? Frederica, Pukin began shouting. And now we have Postarie's point of view. Okay. I wonder if they're going to be the ones that save them. Like, one thing I was thinking of, I was like, oh, one of Malpalm's wings could have been driving the van. But then I was like, but Malpalm wasn't with them. So, maybe this could be more explanation, or maybe not. Postarie, remaining time, 11 hours, 38 minutes. We have less than half the time left. Tatsuko Sakaki was truly an introverted coward from the bottom of her heart. She was afraid of talking to anyone but her family. The more she thought, she didn't want to be hated, the more her mouth involuntarily moved. Her tongue was tied, her voice was small, it became harder for people to hear, and she felt like she was stuttering. Did she disappoint the people she was talking with? Were they angry? Were they making fun of Tatsuko? They always showed that kind of attitude as they left her. She's been this way even before she was aware of it. When she heard others say, "Come on over if you want to play," and saw the other children, she didn't want to approach them. Even the kids who pulled Tatsuko's hand to get her to play when they saw how flustered Tatsuko was every time, they gradually stopped inviting her. Tatsuko's parents had been contacted about her situation since kindergarten. They were worried about her. Tatsuko didn't dislike her parents coming to her school, and she could communicate with them normally. She even talked about the day's events happily. She didn't seem to hate it, so it should be fine, concluded her parents. She was a loner, but that doesn't mean she couldn't make friends forever. Her parents had made that judgment based on their own experiences. Tatsuko's parents were naive. There are people in society that were still unable to make friends, too. While Tatsuko was still able to be noticed in kindergarten, elementary school was like a smaller version of society. Tatsuko was like a separate cell entity. Tatsuko, who stuttered when anyone simply talked to her, soon became a laughingstock of her classmates. And they never gave her a break. They secretly laughed at her, stuck posters on her back, and threw erasers at her during class. Their mischief continued every day. No bully. As she progressed, their mischief only increased, kicking her backpack, hiding her riding equipment and backpack, small irritations that they do that would go unnoticed by the teachers. No one held back against Tatsuko, who everyone viewed as lower than human. Tatsuko entered a private middle school. She used most of her valuable time of the semester in April for herself. Tatsuko spoke to no one as she read books and manga by herself, setting into stone her relationship with her class. She was really fated to be alone after all. Tatsuko had heard that middle school bullying was far worse than elementary school. She gathered as much information as she could for her sanity. She constantly repeated her search and narrowed her results. She found out her friends' social networking accounts, and from morning till evening, she always checked those accounts at least twice every day. She checked all their blogs and articles every day, checking to see if anyone had any intention of bullying Tatsuko. There was no one to tell Tatsuko that her efforts were pushed in the wrong direction. Tatsuko had never come up in anyone's conversations. While she was disappointed with this every day, she was also relieved. Maybe because it was a private school, so both her teachers and students had a better class of life. Even in other classes or other grades, there didn't seem to be any talk of bullying. Still, Tatsuko routinely checked up on the net, all the way until June. That month, Tatsuko's first ever friend had came. "Hey, you read that manga once before, didn't you?" She didn't think that was her own voice. It was lunchtime, class was rarely quiet, but there was basically no one who ever talked to Tatsuko. Without realizing it, she raised her head to the person talking to her. It was because her voice was close by. It was difficult to read when there were excited students around, especially if they were a girl. When she took her eyes off the page to look at the voice, she saw a face that was even closer, and since she was looking straight at Tatsuko, she looked frightening. Tatsuko nearly fell out of her chair. "I like it too." Did the girl see Tatsuko clinging to her chair? She was smiling as if nothing had happened. Tatsuko panicked. Her actions looked suspicious. She was saved by the chime of the bell as the girl returned to her own seat. While flipping through the math lessons, Tatsuko thought about today's events. Tatsuko's interest in her classmates wasn't faint, though it was more like vigilance rather than interest, but she was always careful when listening to classroom gossip or checking on the net. Kaori Ninatsugi, an unusual surname. She was probably average in her studies. Even in sports, she didn't really stand out. Same in music and home ec. She wasn't particularly cute, but she wasn't particularly clumsy either. Basically, she was average. There was nothing wrong about her, but there was nothing outstanding about her either. She's like a character who'd be called Classmate D or something. Obviously, unlike Tatsuko, she had friends. She looked like she was having fun in break time, and every time she went to the toilet, it's because someone invited her. She was never left out when groups were being picked, and she was never paired up with her teacher during gym. Friends. Could this be a so-called opportunity of friendship? Everyone other than Tatsuko must have originally made friends this way. She didn't have to be ready for anything. If she just directly responded, even Tatsuko could probably make some friends. But it doesn't really matter. Even if I did, it'd just be annoying. It's fine if I live my life like this. That's what she concluded. Tatsuko's concentration went back to her math lesson, but it wasn't over yet. From that day onwards, Kaori began to actively talk with Tatsuko. This wasn't Tatsuko's kind of thing, and instead of talking, it looked more like Kaori was bullying her. The nuisance was that of Tatsuko bumping into a punk, so the punk wouldn't stop talking. Tatsuko was also forced into her circle of friends. Even though Tatsuko kept thinking, "Give me a break," or "Leave me alone," or "I'd rather be alone, thanks," she couldn't say it out loud. Tatsuko expected her friends to be talking about the latest brand of lipstick color or models, but Kaori and her friends were excitedly talking about anime and manga instead. Before this, Tatsuko thought her ridiculously glittering otherworldly classmates would just pull out their eyebrows talking about their cute socks or their shining fruit-scented lip cream, as fashionable as possible without letting their scary teachers get angry kind of people. As she talked, Tatsuko began to gradually join in, and before she knew it, she was greeting people as they gave her nicknames as well. She thought she couldn't get this in her lifetime, but once she did, it became easy. She always appreciated Kaori, who had made all this possible from the start, from the bottom of her heart. Being led by Maupam, even now Kaori was next to Tatsuko. Tatsuko thought it would be okay to follow behind Kaori. Kaori wanted to continue being the magical girl Rainpo. Tatsuko wanted to give up being the magical girl Postarie. She wanted to take back her old life, which was safer than a magical girl's. The two of them still had contradictory opinions, yet they stayed together because Tatsuko couldn't abandon Kaori. She actually wanted to talk to her, but... She actually wanted to talk to her, but if she talked to Rainpo, Malpom would come slapping. When she saw that Toko won't come out, she understood that she and Pom were enemies. She understood this, but Pom didn't seem evil like the evil witch that Toko was talking about. Pom was certainly someone Tatsuko disliked. It was scary how she would slap them before saying what she wanted to say, and then the words she had to say were just as merciless as her slaps. Yet she wasn't evil, so to speak. A hot-tempered, strict PE teacher wasn't someone you'd call evil, even if you disliked them. Malpom was the same, not exactly a bad person. She always talked in a selfish manner. Knowing how to fight other magical girls wasn't useful at all, yet she was probably saying this for their sake as well, wasn't she? Furthermore, in ways that she couldn't understand, she felt like Pom was caring for them. Until then, she'd been walking fast, making it hard to follow her, but now she was walking slower. The coats that Malpom made were a bit scary at first, as she wasn't used to them, but after she wore them up to their sleeves, it felt warm and comfortable. There was a sense of security if she wore these. They didn't know what Malpom was thinking just by looking at her from behind. Her way of walking was rather proud, she thought. Someone who was confident in themselves, without ever having to look on their past, would walk this way. It was the opposite kind of person that Postarie was. She looked at Rainpo, who was beside her. Her face looked tired. The thought of telling everyone, including Toko, wasn't something she didn't think of telling before, but that was never Rainpo's motive. In the end, their discussions were parallel. The two of them were silently walking by each other without any discussions, or without any conclusion. Okay. Sorry, I had to go over that sentence. What should I do? What can I do? Postarie thought frustratingly as Malpom stopped. Is this? Malpom muttered off as she stared into the distance. A car accident? What was she talking about? Postarie was confused as she didn't understand. If she asked the question, she'd probably get slapped again. As Postarie began to hesitate, Malpom's expression changed to one of surprise. Magical girls are here. Their dress coats instantly deformed, becoming black floating rectangles. She took off her sunglasses and her hat, and Tatsuko could see 2 sharp horns growing from her head. 1, 2, 3, 4, and Gekkokujo. Bastards. Postarie was surprised. She wasn't surprised at the 2 horns, she was surprised at the costume beneath her dress coat. Saying that she was half naked with a high degree of exposure wasn't enough. It was as if she was being covered by strings. A guitar-carrying magical girl, swordsman-like magical girl, patchwork dress magical girl, fortune-telling magical girl, wedding dress magical girl. Any of those familiar to you? The wedding dress one is probably our friend Wedden. Rainpo glanced at Postarie as if to confirm with her. Postarie nodded in response. Pirates, stage magician, Arabian dancer, ballerina, and wedding dresses were their friends. Ninja and rabbit ears were their enemies, but they don't remember any of the magical girls they just heard of. Malpom smiled happily. So, there are people that you don't even know about, or that you don't even know. Interesting. Alright, so that's the end of Chapter 8, and we've continued on. I really, really liked that part at the end, with Postarie's thoughts, and more of her past. I really like Postarie. So yeah, that was all really good. I like that a lot. And I like the kind of the car chase that we had too. I like these characters a lot. I find it interesting that we're having a lot less deaths, and I'm wondering if that means that a lot more characters are going to survive, and this is just introducing them to tell stories with them later on the grander stage of things, or if they're actually going to just be a ton of deaths in the last few chapters. So I am worried, but we'll see how things go. Hoping for the good guys to win things out here, but things aren't looking great. I guess we'll wait and we'll see what happens in Chapter 9 next week. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more Magical Girl Raising Project, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there on stuff for the channel. And if you want the link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us there, just ask and I'll give you a link. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and we'll see you all next time.